Oh, hi there. I'm Noah Bradley. This is Handmade House TV. And on this week's episode, we're going to talk about footers, foundations, and funding. So stay tuned. Well, all right. Once again, thanks for tuning in here to Handmade House TV. And by all means, come over and see us at handmadehouses.com, where you can get all kinds of free information as well as learn more about our premium courses there that will help you if you're an owner builder or if you're trying to build something unique like a log cabin or a timber frame or a stone home. There's a lot of wonderful classes there that will propel you light years ahead of the competition, will make you fully qualified from day one to build your own dream home. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about footers, foundations, and funding. If you were tuned in here last week, you know that I got the building permit for my future lake house. Yes. And so the next step that's in process would be to get the foundation underway. Now, building a foundation is actually an excellent hands-on owner activity that you can do. A lot of the houses, the first house that I ever built for myself, I hand dug the foundation myself with a shovel, and poured the footers myself, laid the foundation, which was a cinder block foundation. I did a little bit of brick veneer at the time as well, just to spoof it up and make it a little bit prettier. But it really turned out well. Now, but here I'm planning on hiring two subcontractors to take care of the foundation for me. And the reason for that, the reason I'm hiring it and not doing the hands-on work myself, is because I'm 66 years old, and it's a great skill to have. It doesn't take a whole lot of talent to do a foundation. It's just patience and a strong back. And I don't have a strong back. I got a fairly decent amount of patience, but as far as it is labor intensive to move really heavy things, to mix mortar, to wheelbarrow concrete, to cut rebar. It's all on the dirt level. It's dirty. It's muddy. It's dusty. And it's really labor intensive. And again, with this house, I'm planning on doing some of the labor myself. I don't know whether or not it'll be 10% of the labor of the home or it'll be 50% of the labor of the home, somewhere in that ballpark. But nonetheless, I want to sub out other things, so I'm being selective with the things that I'm subbing out. I'm not intending to do any roofing. You get my age, you really don't want to, and you have no business walking on a roof. You fall off. It's not a question of healing and getting back to normal. It's a question of dying painfully. And so I don't want to do that. So anyway, I am going to sub out the foundation, and what I'm going to use is a block foundation, as I said previously, and we're going to be getting into that soon. But what I've done is I've made the phone calls. Now, you would think that you could find someone to do both the footers and the block work in the same team. But actually, of all things, I've found an individual with an excellent reputation to do the footers and an excellent one with doing the block work, and neither one does the other aspect. And both of them brag about the fact that they get foundations level and square within 1/8 of an inch, which, when you think about that, it's really tough. It's really tough when you're starting out with just dirt and roots and a regular surface on the ground, and you're pouring concrete that starts to set up within minutes. Takes a few hours before it's really starting to get solid, but nonetheless, time is of the essence, and so there's speed, there's harsh building environments and everything else. So to be able to come up with that, and if you can get your foundation, if you can get it as perfectly square and level as possible, it's almost impossible not to build a square and level home, plumb and level. And whereas if your foundation is off, it is a real struggle throughout the entire framing of your home to get things right. And you want things to be square and level. You want floors so when you drop a can, it doesn't roll across the floor. You don't want a house that looks leaning like it's ready to fall over. It's a real nightmare when you're trying to put any drywall or siding on a house that's out of square or flooring, because it doesn't. So everything has to be more or less custom cut, and it's a nightmare. So it's critical to get the foundation just right. I guarantee it's something that you can handle if you're young and in good physical shape. But for me, I'm not. And so one of the things that I think it's important for me to point out here is that both of these individuals who I'm hiring to do the foundation, the footers and the foundation, I've never worked with them before. As a matter of fact, I'm not absolutely certain if I've ever seen either one of them before. I've heard of them. I know of them through reputation, that they're really good guys. And I have spoken with both of them with the phone, and we've had really good conversations. And they've been extremely patient about the constant having to do revisions of the plans as far as getting a permit goes. Right now, both of them have, I've sent them the new final approved sets of plans. And so they're doing a final going over a rendition to see if there's anything that changed that might change their bids in doing the work, and they're officially getting me on their schedules. So we should be taking care of having some live play action for you guys here in the next episode or two with these guys coming in. As far as I know, the only change that really occurred on the plans that is different than what these guys have seen before are the interior piers, the piers that support your floor framing system underneath your house. And I don't know how many, there's maybe a dozen of them in there. You can look yourself. I'm about ready to post a copy, a PDF set of my blueprints on for the guild members to be able to gain access to, so they can start looking at it. It is a little bit cut down, trimmed down set of plans from the full working set I'm working with. That is to make sure that it pleases the architect and everything. Architects don't like their finished sets out in the world, and for decent reasons. And so I definitely would never do anything to offend an architect. I don't mean to offend anybody in any of my videos here. I'm just trying to share with you my experiences and my realities and my perspectives. And a lot of times I'm not the best communicator in the world, so I don't get it across a whole lot, but I respect everyone in the building trades, that we all have a part to fulfill. So anyway, sign up for the guild, gain access to the plans, start looking at them. They're a great guide for you in building your future home. Maybe you want to build a lake house, but even if you don't, it's nice to have a set of working plans that you can follow along as I build the house, and follow along with, use as a guide, a reference when you're designing your own blueprints. And by the way, in the Handmade House Academy, I show you how I design my blueprints. And again, I think it's vital that you do as much design work on your future home as you possibly can before you see the architect. It's my opinion. I thought I would share with you the progress or lack of progress with getting a construction loan for the lake house. I've never seen a period of like this before. I've been through multiple construction loans in my life, built multiple homes for myself as well as dozens of homes for other individuals, and I've never seen the construction loan industry quite as challenging as what it is right now. We have received, I believe it's now 3 acceptances of loans, and we have declined all 3 of them. And that was through a process of a couple of months of work, of filling out paperwork. But the offers we get are for less than we want to get. We want to borrow. The interest rates are higher. The fees are much higher. But just the unusual expenses. I don't understand why one of these loans that we've been offered, they want to charge you $1,000 for every visit they make to the project, which and I've never paid a single fee whatsoever. With the idea of paying $1,000 for an inspection by a bank is just, I just don't know if I can live with that. And I have talked kind of off the cuff with them as well as other builders, and they say that there's a credit crunch going on right now, and that's the reason for all these high figures, that banks want to make sure and be able to cover every expense, a no-lose situation on their part. They want it to be profitable, and they don't have a whole lot of loans they want to give out because of the uncertainty in the market. And that I've been probably 3 out of 4 of them that I've talked to seem to be of the firm belief that this situation will be better the end of this year or the beginning of next year, and that I might be much better off at waiting to apply for a loan at that particular time. And so I'm pondering that with the idea of moving forward with construction and on a pay-as-you-go situation. I don't have enough funds to pay for the entire house, but I got enough to get it going, to get it started. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about, is go ahead and work on the house at a slow pace, and with the idea of taking out a full construction loan come, say, January of next year, when hopefully things have improved. And I'm also hearing from material suppliers that they believe that material prices will very likely drop by the end of the year as well. So both of them, both the building individuals and the material suppliers, both think that this is an excellent time to be beginning construction, to be prepping for construction and preparing for construction, and to be ready for something unexpected, to be able to take advantage of that, like a plunge in borrowing expenses, or a drop off in material expenses. And that typically in the fall that is off season for construction, and that they feel that material prices might start to go down. So this might work. So, but you never know. It's a gamble one way or the other. It could be that both go skyrocketing from here, and I'm regretting it. So by working slow, I will be able to take advantage of both. I'll be able to start building materials now and keep an eye on how things are going, and I'll be able to kick in further. So without a loan, I wanted to cover a basic principle of construction. And if you haven't heard this, you need to remember it. But I've never heard of a builder or a carpenter anywhere in the United States, or the world for that matter, that hasn't heard this. But there's an old saying that goes around, and it's you can have that house fast, cheap, or built really well, high quality. Fast, cheap, or high quality. You can pick 2 of those, but you can't have 3. And so which one of it is that you want? And from my own perspective, I'd sure like to get it as cheap as possible. My goal here is I'm trying to shoot for building my house at half what another builder would build it for. Now that's a steep thing. The chances of me pulling it off are pretty slim, but that's my goal. I'm going to try to build it for half, because I want to demonstrate to you the value of being able to build your own home, and how much better of a home you're going to get in the end, and how much cheaper you're going to get. So if you're shooting for building it inexpensive as possible, then you got a choice between the other 2 what you can have. You can either get it built fast, or you can get it of the highest quality. And if you've been following along here in Handmade Houses, you know that quality is number 1 for me. That's the highest goal you can possibly come up with. So building slow is the ticket that I'm going to go moving forward. Now, it doesn't make sense, because in the world we live in of production line assembly, that there are cost benefits to building something as fast as possible. The particular reason why you want to build something as fast as possible is because when you're borrowing money, when you're taking out a construction loan, you're you're paying interest on everything you borrow. So once you get a third of the way through, you're paying interest on a third of the house at a higher rate than you would in your fixed mortgage. So you're paying, it's really starting to cost you money. And also that a lot of builders build spec homes. They build them with the idea of selling them. So you want to get it done as quick as possible. The quicker you're done, the less interest charges you're paying on it, the less the house costs you to build. So that's where the efficiency, that's where the build it fast comes from, as far as saving money goes. But if you're building slow, if you're building it step by step, first of all, it's great for you guys because I'm not rushing through it. I'm carefully explaining things to you as I go along. And perhaps you want to build a house slow as well, and you want to know, how do you keep busy? How do you do things in the process of building slow where you're not regretting it, where you're not making a mistake? How do you actually go through building something slow where you got a limited amount of funds, but you want to be able to stay busy? And I think you'll really enjoy this process. And also by building this slow, you're also, you have the time and ability to think through things. You have the time and ability to find items on sale, more chances of bumping into a good person to assist you in helping the project. You have more motivation because the house is going together slow, of doing the work yourself. You realize that somebody else can build this in 2 weeks, this aspect of the job, but it'll take me 2 months. Well, if you do it in 2 months, in the end, it didn't cost you anything other than your time to do it. So, and also that by building slow, it also demonstrates the idea of perhaps maybe you don't want to quit your job and you want to work on your house 40 hours a week. Maybe you'd like to be able to part-time it during the week to go do inspections on what's happening for it, and then working on weekends on it or working on evenings on it, which is a tremendous way of building a home. It's how I built my first home. I had a job in the evening. I worked on it in the daytime, but I was able to work full-time and work a part-time job at 65 years old. That ain't happening. So will allow me to get more attention. And also when you're doing the work yourself, typically you're going to end up with a better product, better quality. There are a lot of items like, say for instance, framing. When you drive a nail into the board yourself, you're fully aware that whether or not that nail really seated really well, whether or not there is a nail in that particular, whether or not there's enough nails in that particular board. When you're hiring somebody else to do a lot of the assembly work, there's a lot of places you just can't see whether or not nails went through, or if there was enough nails applied to it, or if something is straight. And what do you do if you find out something's crooked? Whereas if you're building yourself, you have only yourself to inspect it and approve it as the process goes along through it. So there's a lot of advantages to slow build. It's not particularly the way that I desired to do it. I was hoping to get the house built in this year, but this will drag it out. This will allow me to concentrate this year on getting the house framed up and maybe the exterior of it on the way, with perhaps next spring having the outside of the house totally wrapped up, and then be able to work inside of it the rest of the year, and shoot for maybe a fall completion of the home of next year. So that would be give me a year and 3 or 4 months to build the home, doing a slower build method. Anyway, I hope that makes sense to you. I hope I shared that well with you. Hopefully next week we're gonna have some action going on here on the videos, and we'll be getting those footers put in place, and I'll tell you all about footers and how to do it. I'm gonna do a lot of filming of the footers being put in place, and I think you'll really get an enjoyment out of it. So until next week, you guys take care, and we'll talk then. Bye now.